Stephen Meade again, back with another Bullseye Guys shortcast. Supply chain. What does that even mean? There's a big movement right now around PPE, personal protective equipment, and supply chain. Primarily the United States got caught a little bit short with equipment, ventilators, equipment for protection, masks. How do you fix it? There's a lot of questions right now and concerns around fixing the supply chain. Well, I'm going to explain it real quick into 4 key components. You can't just miraculously wave a wand and create new ventilators. You can't wave a wand and fix masks. So let's break down supply chain. Supply chain component number 1. Companies that produce equipment in the United States. US owned companies. Let's use 3M. Interesting example, they make masks. 3M is a US based company that makes products in the United States. What does that mean? You can control the supply chain. You can control distribution. You know how long it takes to get things across the country. And if needed, you can implement the Defense Production Act and get these companies to produce things that they already make. So you can look at the quantity. You have a good idea on how long things take to make, how many they can make, what's the production. So you can plan better. Now within there, another type are US owned companies but producing internationally. 3M again, good example. A lot of the masks that they make were not made in the United States. They were made in China. Why is that a problem? Still a US company. We could still impart controls on them, but you can't control a couple of components. One, how long does it take to ship out of China? What's called the sky bridge or the air bridge? How long does it take to get across the ocean or the air? Even more importantly, what if the country says, we're going to stop it at customs. We don't care if you need it. You can't plan on a US company with an international distribution channel in your supply chain if it can critically be cut off. So that's component number 2, in my opinion. Component number 3, retooling, remanufacturing. Again, I've seen some of the laws that the US Senate is writing. They're counting companies in there that could be retooled, repurposed, or remanufactured. You can't count on that. Let's use General Motors. It's great. I applaud the companies that stepped up during the Corona crisis. Right? You go to General Motors, you say, we need you to make ventilators. General Motors makes cars. How long does it take a company to repurpose, retool, remanufacture a line, get the components in? Do we even have the components? Do we have the masks and the ventilators and the plastic? And you don't just flip a switch and generate that. You can count it in your supply chain and your supply chain numbers, but you have to factor in the length of time to create that. So when we talk about securing the supply chain and making it better and bringing it all back to America, totally agree. Another component of the supply chain is the one we participate in with EAMS, Emergency Asset Management. If you look across the state of California, there are 400 hospitals. Each of those hospitals have a certain number of ventilators, masks, equipment that may or may not be used. Across the United States, you've got hospitals and hospital groups and police. If you can identify your own assets, redeploy them within the United States, that's faster, cheaper, and safer. That is a more secure supply chain. Now, you can't always predict what the numbers will be when you need them, right? Corona popped up. You needed ventilators in New York and then New Jersey and then possibly another state. You can't plan on what's going to be available, but you can look across an enterprise and say, hey, across the whole United States, here's our total capacity. At any given time, 10, 15, 20% of that is probably idle and can be redeployed. The 4th component of the supply chain are foreign-owned manufacturers that you might approve as vendors. And I would say if the United States does that, we would look at the USMCA, Mexico, Canada, give preferential treatment to vendors in North America or Canada. Again, they're more friendly than another country such as China might be. So when the time comes, everybody's talking about supply chain PPE. Great. We can fix the long-term supply chain. We can move everything here. But identifying, redeploying your own assets is faster, cheaper, and safer. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help the country. We're trying to help humanity. We want things to be better, faster, cheaper, and safer. And that's it. But there's a little supply chain lesson from Stephen Meade, the Bullseye Guy.